Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy.
Nice.
Let's talk some football. Is the defense getting better?
I literally had to say it on air the other day, because I felt like I was sunshine pumping so much, but I feel like they are. When you see them make plays that they were not making last year. Now, look, better is relative, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like they are. I feel like they are improving. They are improved from where they were a year ago. Now, is it sustainable? Is it consistent, like Brian Kelly likes to say? I don't know. And is it an issue maybe with the offense that, maybe they're not as good as we thought they might be? So I think there's a little bit of that as well. But, yeah, I think they're making plays. And they're making plays at different times. Like, I know I've listened to you enough. You talk about individual versus team. But I'm seeing it more and more in the individual as well as the team. So, yeah, I do feel like they're making strides.
They had a really good period on Tuesday in individuals where they made some plays on the football, which was severely lacking for the first week. I mean, it's dealer's choice here, whatever you want to take. But is there a level on the defense that you think is creating more of that havoc, that's making more plays? They didn't do anything last year, so is there any specific place that you would look and say that's where they're making some strides?
No, I think they're better across the board.
Okay.
I mean, and I think it's because of what they're telling us, too. I just wonder how much of this is confidence and belief, and then it is allowing them to play freer and faster. I mean, ultimately, they are faster and they are quicker than they've been, and so is that just a simplification of what they're being asked to do, a better comprehension of what they're being asked to do on their part, or is it confidence? And the truth is, it's probably all of them to some degree, right? They're talking about their coaches making it streamlined for them to really get out there and play, and that's what you want with any athlete, any sport, anywhere. And we talk about it all the time with offense, and Brian Kelly talked about it ad nauseum last year, leading into the start of the season. They want to give the ball to their playmakers in space. Well, it's the same thing on defense. You have playmakers, you want to get them out in space and allow them to make the defensive play. And so, I think that's what we're just seeing. We're seeing Harold, we're seeing some of the linebackers, be able to create some havoc in space. We're seeing the defensive line, make stops, be able to shed blocks, get to the ball carrier. We're seeing the secondary stay in phase. I think to me, that's the biggest thing that I've noticed is just they're there. They may not always make a play on the ball, but they are seldomly left in the dust. Now, it still happens, and you'll still see a guy trail 2 or 3 yards behind a receiver at times. And sometimes you just have to, accept that that's kind of what the position is, and it's going to happen in games as well. But I think you're seeing them stay in phase longer, better, and then therefore they're able to make plays on the ball or disrupt the catch.
To me, and this applies to any sport, the fastest way to get better is not for older players to become something they haven't been. It's for younger players to grow up and become stars and fulfill their potential. But there are a lot of guys that are playing on this defense that have played a lot for LSU. Sage Ryan, Major Burns, Jacoby and Guillory, Savion Jones, Greg Penn, Harold Perkins. Is it reasonable to expect all of those guys to truly elevate their games when we've seen them for 3 years in some cases?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, because again, at some point it's the light switch thing. You mentioned Sage right out of the gate. They're asking him to do something different. Now, I don't know that I don't have a ton of. I'll be honest. I don't have a ton of confidence in him in games. I'm going to have to see it to believe it, kind of thing with him on the outside corner. But I do think that there is a reasonable expectation that everyone can improve from year to year, and it doesn't have anything to do with age. I think, to your point, I think the ceiling is greater, right? Because there's this unknown with younger players, whereas for the most part, we understand what veteran players are capable of and what they can do. But I think what helps the veteran player is that dude next to him, their ability to play off one another, to pass off coverage, to pass off responsibility, to understand when, they need to help. And I think that's where you get, the improved play from older players. It's more technique. I mean, you hear that with guys in the NFL and why they're able to stay in the league for as long as they are. It's because they understand when to push it and when not to push it, right? And I think that is kind of what you get out of the older players and why you can see them shine. They understand the level of requirement at the time needed, and they're able to give that and then pull back when not.
What do you think of Blake Baker? I know y'all have talked to him a couple times.
Yeah, like it. I mean, again, it's the enthusiasm. It's the energy that he's bringing. It's the expectations. I think life is pretty simple when you set a standard and then that standard is consistently upheld. That's really the only thing that is preventing people from reaching their potential. That's true with raising kids. That's true with working with coworkers. It's true in athletics. Like identify the standard, have it be a reasonable standard that everybody can agree upon, and then try to meet that standard every day. And I think they're just doing a better job of meeting that standard, whether that's from communication of what is the standard to communication of we're not meeting the standard. Like that, and that's anybody that's worked with young people these days, they understand the defeatism that is almost inherent in all of them. Like if they can't be experts at anything right out of the gate, they get super frustrated. Well, I mean, imagine applying that to football where it's a high pressure, high leverage situation. So the ability to communicate that, we didn't win this rep, but we can come back and do something, to correct that, I think is paramount. And that's probably what they were missing most was the communication skills in last year's defense, their ability to explain it, to teach it, and for the players to understand it. I think you're getting all of that this year with a change of voice.
You mentioned right out of the gate, and that's an interesting thing because right out of the gate, they're facing a head coach who's coached 3 Heisman winners in the last decade. So that's not exactly an easing in type situation. Does that change our conversation about this whole defense because of who they've got to start with right out of the gate?
I think it does. I mean, here's the reality, right? We all have pretty low expectations for this defense, and I think right out of the gate they're going to be challenged and probably not look that improved. They're going to have to do some significant quarterback affecting, I think, in order to change the style and play that USC wants to bring to the field. Now, look, they lost their quarterback, their Heisman-winning quarterback too, so there's the potential for LSU to have some success there. But I do think you have to go in with maybe measured expectations of what is a win in week one outside of the scoreboard, right? They got to win. Like let's just be as upfront about that as possible. You can't go 5 years in a row losing the season opener. They got to win. How much can Brian talked about being a more balanced team help them in that regard? It gets back to the first thing that we talked about. This defense is better. How many times last year did we just say, "Give me a competent defense. Give me
make 2 plays." Make 2 plays.
Defense. Yeah, make 2 plays in a game, right, and change the course of the game. Like that's where they have to be. And from what I've seen so far in practice, I believe they can do that. I'm not asking them to be a good defense. I'm asking them to be an average defense. And I think that is attainable. It'll be a challenge, right? But guess what? USC's in the same boat with the same terrible defense that has to figure out, an LSU offense. I'm wondering, Hunt, are we not talking enough about this offense? Like we are taking a very big leap of faith that this offense will be efficient. And we're hanging it on things that aren't necessarily proven outside of an offensive line that we know is veteran. But we're giving them a ton of credit too. Like this run game wasn't exceptional last year.
Nope.
It's basically a whole new batch of receivers, a new quarterback that we saw can operate the offense, in a bowl game against a depleted Wisconsin team. Like there's a lot, I think, that still has to be proven just as much on the offensive side of the ball as it really does on the defensive side of the ball.
That's completely fair, and I've kind of hinted at that a little bit. I wrote a story this morning talking about the running game, and they were atrocious on the ground against Florida State, Alabama, and Texas A&M last year. Awful. If they run it like that against good defensive fronts, those are the best 3 fronts they saw. They're going to be in some trouble, so they've got to find a way to improve that. But I do think there's going to be some more creativity in the run game this year. We'll talk.
I mean, we were seeing that, right, with the outside zones. The thing that here's what gives me hope: the involvement that I've seen of Chris Hilton involved in the screen game early on is something that I really enjoy seeing. Like I feel like that's the way that you can move the ball with relative ease and spread the defense out and take advantage of your playmakers in space, because you can run that out of any look, and like that's the one thing I was asking Brian when we talked to him last was like, do you feel like you're going to be predictable by formation with your running game? Like Josh Williams can do a little bit of everything, but if Caleb Jackson is in the game, we know what he's doing. Like there's just not that much creativity to it. So getting him out in space, getting him on a wheel route, I think can really soften some things up, give it a different look. But again, how much better are those guys? How much better is Caleb, quite honestly, in pass pro? Like those are the steps that they still need to make. And And that's what I'm waiting to see. I loved what I've seen from John Emery, and I had a chance to talk to him in the parking lot just to tell him that, because I think they've been working the dog out of him.
Yep.
And I understand why. Like, I understand Brian's point, but like he looks like he's ready for it. I just hope they can get him to the finish line of week 1 still healthy, because I understand they're trying to test him and make sure that he's good to go. But I mean, he looked great. Like, I want to see more of him. So yeah, I'll read that article, because I'm interested in this run game. How effective can it be? Because yeah, to me, it's going to have to shoulder a big burden with this production on offense.
2 weeks till LSU kicks off. High school football coming up pretty quick. What's going up on Channel 2?
Yeah, we're still heavy into the college stuff, though. I mean, we're doing LSU as every chance we can get. Bree Andrews sat down with Terrence Graves, the new Southern head football coach, for a one-on-one. We're going to get that out this weekend, I think. So we're really big into the college stuff. The high school stuff will get here, and we'll have the Friday nights. But that was kind of our June, July focus of, looking at all the area teams. It's college. Let's go. Watch a little Saints preseason, see what they bring to the field. Hate to hear the injury bug is biting over at practice, so we'll see how significant that is, and get you caught up on all that.
We appreciate you, Cauble. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Michael Cauble, sports director over there at WBRZ Channel 2 here in Baton Rouge. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.